Welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ball Player podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb. I want to thank you for joining us here on another episode of our podcast where we really focus on the development of not only the physical side of things, but also the mental side of things. We hope to provide as much value as we can to players, parents, coaches, friends, anyone really, because the best part about this is if we can have lessons, and I think this is what baseball does the best, is how we can create lessons that will go beyond the game of baseball, and so which would be beneficial and applicable to more than just baseball players, parents of baseball players, but actually to people outside of the game, because that's what baseball teaches. Baseball can teach us some great lessons that we will take into real life. So, and a man who gets to help me do that today is head coach of Shepherd University, Matt McCarty. Coach McCarty was one of the youngest coaches, I think, in the country at the time when he was brought on as head coach at Shepherd in July 2013. He played at Shepherd. He graduated from Shepherd. He was an assistant coach at Shepherd, and then ended up getting the opportunity to become the next head coach, where he has been a part of 278 Ram victories. Some as a player, 51 as a player in 2 years, as well as 227 as a coach. He has been the Mountain East Conference Coach of the Year twice in 2014 and 2018. And in 2014, he was also the National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association Regional Coach of the Year. Again, that was in 2014. But with Coach McCarty and at Shepherd, they continue to bring in and develop great players. They've had 15 players move on to professional ranks, including the 2011. They had a first rounder, Cory SpangenbergMost. Most recently, they've had 3 go on in the 8th round, the 4th round, the 21st round. So they continue to grow them. If people go and visit there, you see scouts there often. It's just he's grown it into a national presence at the Division II level. It's a great place to play. It's a very special place. You just feel it when you walk in there. So in Coach McCarty, he's just a true winner. He's shown that he wins, and you hear it through a lot, and he wins it through his relationships. And you heard that a lot through our conversation today. So can't thank him enough for it. So hopefully you get to learn those lessons, and I think that what can be applicable beyond the game of baseball. But we get to dive a little bit into, and we kind of get behind the curtain a little bit with Coach McCarty. And again, just can't thank him enough. He's a great guy. And hope you guys enjoy this great conversations with head coach at Shepherd University, Matt McCarty.
Because they go home for Thanksgiving break next Tuesday, and then home for about 7 weeks before we start back up in January.
7 weeks.
Yeah, it's usually 3, but because of
finals online.
Yeah, they're doing that last 2 weeks of class is all virtual, so it adds some extra time, so that they shrunk down the semester. We usually don't end until like December 11th. I think we were supposed to be done this year, and now we're finishing the 24th as far as in-class session. So you're taking 3 weeks off from an in-class session.
And then, so has your schedule? Well, I mean, are you still planning on starting at February like when you typically do?
No, so since the NCAA reduced us to 40 games, it just didn't allow us to play. And then when they went to 40 games, our conference dropped down to 30. Well, it moved up from 24 conference games up to 32. So now we only have 8 non-conference games to play. So it just didn't make sense for us to start opening weekend of Division II because we don't start conference play until the second week in March. So with only 8 games to play, if we played those first 2 weekends like we typically do and get 6 games in, then we have 2 non-conference games we can play the next 3.5 weeks. So just didn't make sense for us. So we're going to start the end of February and go down and play Francis Marion and then UNC Pembroke. It'll be midweek games for them because we're going to play Tuesday, Wednesday. So, it'll be good. We're playing two very good teams and probably one of the best Division II conferences in the country to start. And it'll be our first games. They'll be like 10 games in, so it'll be a little different, but it'll all work out in the end.
Yeah.
Good competition before we start our conference, which is very good competition anyway. So
yeah, just that in and of itself is going to be really good, really good conference.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, anybody comes out of there has got a shot, period.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. Wow. Yeah. I mean, so at least it's going to give you better weather too. So you guys start so early. I know UTS typically go down south anyways, those first couple weeks.
Yeah, and it gives us a little more preparation time too, because typically we only have about 3 weeks to get our guys ready when they come back in January.
That is good, especially now, like you said, you're losing this time that you would typically have. You'd have them back earlier too. So I guess that works out good.
Yeah, so typically we have 3 weeks, and now we're going to have about 6.5 weeks before we play. So 8-1 gives us more opportunities to get outside. We'll be able to go live, hopefully, weather depending, a couple more times than we usually do. Because, I mean, we typically go live against our pitchers 3 times maybe before we get down starting our first game. So this gives us a chance to possibly double that, if not more. So it'll be good.
And I guess that probably didn't, I'm not sure when you probably put the schedule together, but at least it maybe didn't push you so much in the fall to get all these things in that you have a little bit of time in the back end before you would start.
Right. And we didn't have to rush a whole lot of things in the fall because we had so many guys returning. So it made this transition a little easier than what it would have been on a normal year. If we had a normal year, I mean, we had 15 new freshmen come in. So it would have been a big transition year. So it kind of good the way things played out.
Sure. One of the things I've always admired and I've always kind of wanted to pick your brain about was just a matter of you go and watch your guys play and they look like they've been playing together for about 10 years. Like there's just such a bond with all of your guys. And I would love to just get like your perspective of that and how you kind of do that, or, what is it just a Shepherd thing, or how are you doing that so well?
I think, one, I appreciate that. Two, I think a lot of it has to do with the culture here in the athletic department, not necessarily just our program, but the athletic department as a whole. It's a very close-knit group. I mean, when we bring guys in on recruiting visits, we're walking around campus. These other coaches are around. They stop in, ask where they're from, what position they play, hope they end up here at Shepherd. So, but once they get here, it's just everything we do in the fall is very competitive based. And we start from the time we get here, that second week of school on, we're doing baseball activities. So these guys are together. I mean, they're getting together 6 to 8 hours a day. And we don't make our guys, we request our guys to live with each other on campus. When they come in as freshmen, we try to pair them up. Most of them want to pair up with another baseball player to begin with, and then our guys off campus, they all live together too. So, I mean, when you're around someone for 24 hours a day, for 8 months, that brotherhood, just seems to form. They do everything together, which is a good thing. But the way we do our practices, we do 4 weeks of individual work. So when we get into our individual work, our infield group is with each other for 4 weeks. And it's just those group of guys. So we have one group of infielders. They're with each other 3 times a week for 4 weeks before we start a full team practice. So they're just able to, the things that we do on a daily basis, like I said, they form that bond. They respect each other. And we it's a big accountability thing. You can't expect accountability from others if you don't have it in yourself. So once they they understand that, especially our young guys coming in, what accountability looks like as a whole. The team aspect of it comes together pretty good.
Hmm. And then during the season, as you guys just roll and things like that, is it something that's ever kind of like, do you ever notice like times where you might have to bring that in? Do you have to talk more about it, or is it just kind of seem, pretty fluid at Shepherd? I mean, it always seems like, even from a alumni standpoint, guys, it always just seems to be part of that culture, man. It's just something about it.
Yeah, I think it's just the relationship that we have with our guys, as far as coach and player. We when we were going through the recruiting process with them, we get to know them on a level more so than them just being a baseball player coming into Shepherd. So I think the trust that they put into us, the trust that we put into them once they're here, there's a lot of times where if it's coming from us coaches, as you know, it's going to go in one ear and out the other, especially when you're repeating the same things over a course of a year, things we need to improve on, or this is mistakes we've made in games that cost us in certain situations. So we rely on our players to do a lot of that too, because like I said, if it's coming from us coaches, it goes in one ear out the other. But if it's coming from a teammate, a peer, someone that it holds a little bit more validity to them, it means a little more to them. They don't want to let their teammates down. They don't want to let their peers down, their friends. So, yeah, we rely on our student athletes to handle a lot of the things, in game, in team stuff. We don't do punishment stuff. We do to a certain point, but on the team aspect of it, we rely on our guys for that accountability and hold their teammates accountable. And when it comes from within, from your teammates, it means a lot more to them.
Sure does. Yeah, sure does.
And I think that just helps. I think that just helps with the bond. When you have someone that's chewing your butt and getting on you, trying to make you better. One of the big things that we did as a staff when we took over was bringing in multiple guys at each position, knowing that each and every day you're going to have someone breathing down your neck trying to take your spot, and you can't take days off. And when we do stuff in practice, everything we do is a competition based. We'll do stuff with infielders where we're counting out. We have pitchers behind our guys with buckets when we're doing mass fungos, and they're counting how many errors we make or how many times we don't field the ball cleanly. And then we'll have something as for the winners, to who won that group session and do it. So, there's competition within our team. So that brings out a lot of that bond. They always want to win. And I think that's helped with our culture of winning. Is everything we do is competitive base. And like I said, when you know you're showing up to work that day, and someone's breathing down your neck to take your spot, you got to leave all the outside stuff at the gate when you come in. We're expecting 2.5 hours of your time at the field, and not let. That's a release for a lot of guys is being able to get out on that field and put school aside for 2.5 hours or what's going on outside. It's a release for them. So when they get on the field and they compete, it's fun to watch.
For sure. It's funny. It's interesting because a lot of the guys, one would say like multiple guys at a position would say, well, I might not like that guy very much. And is there something that you kind of, especially for a new guy to kind of come into that, which as a freshman might be a little bit intimidated by that? How do they kind of grow that relationship without like not liking that guy because he might take my spot?
I think it plays into the culture that we have here, that it doesn't matter whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. If you're the best guy at that spot, you're gonna have a chance to play. And when we have freshmen that come in and win jobs as freshmen and take over. And yes, I think it has to play in with the type of guys that we're bringing in. We identify that in the recruiting process. Do I want to believe that we're going out and recruiting the best guy, and a guy that makes our program better. So in the process of doing that, we expect our freshmen, our sophomores, our transfers to come in and expect to be on the field. If they don't come in with that mentality of wanting to win a job, it's just they probably won't last here. So early on, I think there's a distancing factor that they're quiet and. But I think the way that we make things in practice and the way how competitive we make things in certain situations for our guys. I mean, when we enter squad three times a week too. So once we get into our full team practice, so I mean, guys, it's just a competitive nature. So I think once the season gets going into our fall and the weight room sessions, everything that we do, our guys are around each other. So will they bicker and fight like brothers? Absolutely. When you're around somebody for that long, it's going to happen. So, but no, I think we do a good job of being able to separate the personal things and what's happening on the field. I'm never going to like the guy that's beating me out for my job, but
Sure.
Once we're on the field and we all have the same common goal of winning, I believe that's what separates that hate or dislike for guys. Because like I said, when everyone's coming here for the common goal, that's one of the things that we preach to our guys when we bring them on the recruiting visits. It's you're here to win championships. You're here to graduate and get a degree and be a better person when you leave here, from top to bottom, mature and grow. And I think there's a lot of life lessons that our guys learn throughout the process in their 4 or 5 years, however long they're here, that really, really help in the maturation process.
So, like, there's a couple of things I heard from all of that was, her recruiting, and then I was thinking about just a matter of the competition part of it, and do you see that guys come into, is that something you're trying to build into guys? Like, are you building them into becoming better? Like, are they missing that, like, from like a youth level, from maybe high school? Like, are they missing some of that competitiveness and you're trying to instill it in them? Or is that just something that what you guys do? Or is that would you see people could do more of that before you got them?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. To be honest with you, I think the whole showcase baseball's kind of taken a competitive edge away from a lot of student athletes. It's so watered down, and there's a lot of things now that you go play on a weekend, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is, you're guaranteed this many games, and that's what it is. And some of these teams have guys that only come in for a weekend and play on a weekend just to showcase themselves. They pick up players, that kind of thing. So I think it just takes away from the competitive nature in some aspects, because if one kid doesn't make this team, this group of kids are going to join another team and start up another team. And I think some kids lack that. And it takes away some of the showcase ball just takes away from the competitive nature. But what we do in practice is kind of the competitive side. It's for us as coaches, it's more to see where they're at mentally. Skill wise, I think I honestly feel when we recruit guys, a lot of our guys are on the same level. And it's who's going to take that next step, who's going to be able to handle that adversity and practice in a competition setting, and be able to grow from it. And you see it. There's guys that come in early as freshmen, on the competitive nature side, it's they're very passive, because they don't really understand it. And there's some guys that you got to kick in the butt and say, look, we tell them all the time, we got this year's a little bigger roster than usual. We have 46 guys on roster. We typically keep 30 to 35, but because of COVID, our seniors coming back, it's a larger roster. Just because you're on roster at a 46 number, we don't travel 46 guys. So if you want to be on the bus come springtime, you got to be in our top 28, top 30 guys. So you got to do that in the weight room. You got to win those competitions in the weight room, getting bigger and stronger, understanding how your body moves, showing up to practice every day, working hard, competing. And that's going to put you in a good situation. And also in the classroom. That's the biggest thing. we tell our guys every recruiting visit, you got to make the grades in the fall to get to the spring to come back next fall. We're always actively recruiting to put our team in the best situation, make them our team better. And the classroom part plays a big part of it. If you can't make the grades, and we're not going to babysit you and call you at 8:00 for your 8:10 class to make sure you're up. It just falls on the accountability side. If you're not doing the things in the classroom, baseball is a privilege, so it can always be taken away. And if you're not doing the things in the classroom, that's the quickest way to lose your spot on the field, because now you're giving your reps to someone else, because now we got to put you in with a tutor. And when we do our tutoring sessions for our guys, it's during practice time. So you're not doing the things in the classroom. So baseball's taken away until you figure out what you need to do in the classroom. So like I said, it's a privilege here. And our guys know that when they step on campus, or leave campus the first time when they come on their visit, is our best 9 are going to play. You're going to have to do in the classroom as well as the field. And if you're not doing it on the field or in the classroom, you won't be doing it on the field. So, but I think just the competitive nature on our team and our guys, they understand what we expect of them, and they get after it. And I think the atmosphere of us coaches, we're not the type of guys that in practice we're going to yell and holler. I've learned that from my early stages. That's probably the biggest thing that I've learned to or started to understand a lot more is the yelling and screaming can only do so much. The motivational side is key for these kids, and we try to make practice as competitive but as fun as we possibly can for them, because on the baseball side in practice, everything's going to become repetitive for the most part. So we have to find different ways to make it fun and competitive for our guys.
What were some of the best things? So, like, as much you compete, you said even in the weight room, like, what are like your top things? Like, man, this is like, you've just seen so many gains throughout the years. Like, what are the top competitive things you like to do that you've seen?
In the field, when we do, like, our guys think that BP squats and that kind of stuff isn't fun for them, because it's BP, and they're long, they're drawn out, but they should be long and drawn out because it's BP. We do different things just in our BP sets too. We'll do scoring things where we're trying to do this, runner at second base. Each guy's got three to 5 swings. If you drive the runner in at this point, or if you drive a runner in, this team gets this many points, and so on and so forth. So, and that's fun. Our guys get up there and they have a plan at the plate for BP, instead of just going up there and, okay, we're going a gap round. So now we're gonna get 7 swings and we're gonna try to hit the ball out of the park. Now we're going up there with a purpose. And when they get into team or into game situations, it takes away from, oh, well, my batting average is going to be this. Well, no, you hit the ball to the right side, move the runner. All right, now the guy behind you hits a sac fly. Now we're up 1-0 in the base running side. So that's key. There's so much more than just taking BP that we do on the offensive side to make it competitive. I think there's a lot more to it than just getting up there and swinging the bat. In the weight room, last year, we did body fat percentages with our guys. We tested our body fat and monitored it every 6 weeks to check in and see, we don't have nutritionists here at Shepherd to make sure our guys are going to see a nutritionist, sticking to a plan. We just don't have those resources. But a lot of it's visual. If they see it, I'm not, my percentage isn't changing, but my 2 roommates that I live with, their body fat's changing. What am I doing different that they're doing? Or is it the way I eat, what I'm eating, especially late at night, that kind of stuff? So it's the little things that we do that kind of creates just competition in themselves, because nobody wants to be that guy that gets left behind. So there's a purpose that we do it. Our guys don't really understand understand it to the full extent of why we do things. One of the things that we did very early on, we watched YouTube videos of the Division I programs that do the Road to Omaha challenges.
Oh, yeah, okay.
In the conditioning set. So we started a Road to Carry challenge. We ran our conditioning set with our individual set. So individuals, we're going Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Our conditioning is Tuesday, Thursday. So we're getting up. It starts at 6:00 in the morning. So it's dark out. Our guys can't see what exactly is going on in front of them, like as a large distance. But our very first team meeting, we pick 6 seniors, 7 seniors, depending on what makes the teams even. And they select teams. They have no idea what the activities are throughout that 4-week process. And that's a huge, I think that plays into the bond too, because it's more of a team building thing, but they're also doing baseball conditioning type activities. So if I'm telling our guys we're getting up at 6:00 in the morning, we're going to go run 3 miles, we're probably going to have guys that either show up, oversleep, that kind of thing. But everything we do is competitive based. So we'll do like 5 or 6 activities that morning, 5 that are team based as far as conditioning wise, and then 1 fun team activity. So we do their favorite days when we get into the pool at the wellness center, and we do some strenuous activities in there. And then the fun thing at the end, I don't know why they love it, but they do. It's a belly flop competition at the end. And it's like,
nice.
They're inflicting pain on each other, but it's just, or on themselves. And it's just like, they enjoy it. But like we'll do stuff down at the soccer field, which is a turf field. And then we'll play, we'll do some different stuff, ultimate Frisbee at the end. And it's just fun things that we do. And the bond, we're on the sand volleyball court. We play med ball volleyball. And it's especially early on, I think it relaxes some of the underclassmen, the new guys coming in, just because of the atmosphere that we have that's during those sessions. They're diving in sand and all sweaty, so the stand's sticking to them, and it's a fun thing that our guys enjoy. Like I said, if we're getting up at 6:00 in the morning and going out and just running sprints or running 3 miles, that's not very fun to those guys, and it probably wouldn't have the effect that we want it to. So we've done it. And then at the end, the very last day, that 8th day, we do an obstacle course around campus at all the stops that we've done in those 7 other times. We'll have 1 activity at each spot. And it takes about 45 minutes to complete it. But for each activity, they get points for it. So we wager first place, second place, third, fourth, all the way down. So when we get to that final day, those guys can wager their points to be in first and whatnot. So it's a fun thing. But like I said, it's all throughout campus. So it's a good day on that last day. And I don't know if they're more excited because it's the last day and they don't have to get up at 6 a.m. because a lot of those kids don't see much of 6 a.m. So, but no, it's fun. It's competitive and they enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, that's super cool, man. That's really cool. I'm sure they gotta have a blast with all that. We start seeing We just start seeing more of that stuff on Twitter, buddy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
we seeing you guys do that.
We don't post. Well, we didn't post many videos because we actually we got in trouble. We were out at the soccer field. We were flipping tires one day. We had like a relay race.
Yeah,
and you're out there and it's wide open, so those tires, I guess, were echoing, and when they hit the ground, and it's an older community, so a guy came over at like 6:30 in the morning and was like, "What are you guys doing out here?" Like, we're just flipping tires. Our guys are like cheering for each other and stuff. It's like,
oh wow,
we thought soccer was going on out here. I'm like, no, we're not soccer. They're like, well, shouldn't you guys be at the baseball field since you're a baseball team? So,
it's all Shepherd. It's all Shepherd.
That's right.
So
yeah.
I really liked how you said that about the athletic department. I think that's pretty special about the Shepherd stuff. Them even all the other coaches and part of the department is asking those guys about wanting to be there. It just shows a lot of people love being there. I think that's one thing that I've always, seen with Shepherd. It just people just love to be there. When you get them, they typically love to be there.
Right. Yeah. And I think that a lot of it helps is it's a small town. The school sits right in the middle of town, so you get a ton of support through the community as well. So, I mean, there's multiple times we're just walking around campus downtown, crossing Main Street downtown, and we're wearing a Shepherd baseball shirt. I still like to think that we look younger, so they ask us like, "Oh, what position you guys playing?" We're like, "No, we're the coaches." But if they're asking us that, I know they're asking our players that too, and they take time to get to know who you are. And then on the athletic department side, some of our guys are in the recreation majors, the fitness and exercise science, the therapeutic rec, physical education. So some of the other head coaches and assistant coaches, their other duties are teaching. So they have them in class, and they get to know those student athletes more than a professor and a student. So it's one of those things that I mean, athletes hang out with athletes, but that's at most universities. But here you get a mix of the general student body and the student athletes. I mean, there's a bond there, and the coaches, I think, really do a good job of promoting that as well. I mean, all our guys go to the football games. They tailgate. They do that whole thing. They work. We have 14 guys that work the games that are on the field, chain gang ball boys. So they're interacting. Our guys go to the men's and women's basketball games, the volleyball games. It's just when our guys are going out and supporting them, and then come springtime, you see out in left center, we have a wooded area out there. And I mean, you got the men's and women's basketball team sitting out there with a big barrel trash can fire out there in the cold weather, and they're sitting out there supporting our team. It's a pretty awesome thing to see.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere. It really is. You know, it's just one of the best college atmospheres that I've, I'm sure I haven't seen them all, but like, it's very special. It's a very special place, that's for sure. And, speaking of that, guys that want to be part of that. So you've talked about some recruiting, and you said you talked about building that relationship during the recruiting process. You don't hear that much. You hear about relationships after the fact, like when we have them, but like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? How are you able to build that relationship during the recruiting process to kind of get your shepherd, your ram guy that you want?
I mean, it varies from guy to guy, but we're reaching out. Our communication doesn't stop with those guys once they commit to us. This summer was a difficult time in this country as a whole. So it's just reaching out and checking in on guys, make sure everything's good with their family, they're staying healthy, that kind of thing. And there's times that we'll talk to recruits, whether it's text or phone call for 25, 30 minutes, whatever it is, and not even bring up baseball or the recruiting side. It's just, what do you got going on this weekend? And if like Father's Day, that kind of stuff. What are you and your family doing? That kind of thing. Just checking in and making it bigger than just the recruiting process. Just making it bigger than the baseball coach to player relationship. Like I said, just reaching out like, oh, are you going on any vacations this summer? That kind of thing. Just getting to know them on a personal level. I think that goes a long way. It's part of the trust factor. Once they get here, and their parents enjoy that too, because once they get here, I mean, a lot of most of our guys are from the tri-state area, so 2-3 hours max away from home. So they have the opportunity to go home, but a lot of our guys early on will go home, but then as they get more comfortable with their roommates, living situation, that kind of stuff, they tend to stay. So now these kids throughout a year see us coaches more than they see their parents. So their parents expect us to take care of their children and be, I guess, their parents away from home for 6 to 8 months. And it's just that trust factor and them understanding that we're going to do everything we can to make their son a better person, as well as make them a better baseball player.
It's phenomenal. It's great. And so and you mentioned that before, like it's kind of your third pillar of the program, win championships, get a degree, be a better person, mature and grow. Do you have anything specific that you guys like to do? Like one thing I loved tutoring sessions are done during practice. Like, that's awesome. Are there any other like specific things like that that you kind of help with this maturity process, to help with that becoming a better man?
Yeah, I mean, we have an expectation sheet that our guys fill out day one when they get here. We have a team meeting. And we don't do team rules. It's expectations. And I think again, it falls everything we do in a competitive nature. Those expectations, they don't want to be that guy that falls behind. So, or let their peer, their friend, their roommate down in that aspect. But um, it's on the baseball side. If they're not doing the things, the percentage to play at the next level was very, very slim. And we've been fortunate to have guys that to go on and do that. And we put our guys in front of scouts and try to promote that. But life is bigger than baseball. So they have to be able to go to class, make the grades, because their degree is going to take them a lot further than their baseball career, more than likely, for 99% of them. So understanding, and I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, we understand what it's like to be a student here. Myself and Coach Smith, we graduated from here. So the expectations we don't have huge unrealistic expectations to on the grade side. Show up, go to class, do what you're supposed to, sit in the front row, be attentive, do what you're supposed to, do what your parents would expect of you to do if you were home with them, type of deal. And I mean, their teammates not wanting to let them down. I keep going back to, they don't want to let their teammates down. I think that just plays into the culture that we have. It means something. We do a player self-evaluation sheet at the end of our fall that they fill out. And there's a lot of questions on that sheet that have nothing to do with the game of baseball. It's academically, it's attitude, accountability. We don't do team captains either. We expect our team as a whole to everyone from top to bottom hold each other accountable. I don't believe in setting captains and holding 3 or 4 guys to a higher standard than the other 36 guys. I feel that if we want to make this thing go, we have to hold everyone to the same standard. And is there going to be times that we ask a kid that's been here for 3 years a question about what we need to do in our program, or in a practice session, what do they see that we need to do maybe more so than a guy that just got here? Yeah. But as a whole, what we do and what we expect of our guys, it's from number 1 on our roster to number 36 on our roster. We expect the same out of all those guys. Absolutely. But to answer your question, I mean, anything school related, that if you're not doing the stuff on the school side, the baseball side, like I said, is taken away from you. It's a privilege. And that's the weight room on the baseball side. Anything we do team activity wise, it will be taken away if you're not doing the stuff in the classroom. And I mean, our guys are such a tight knit group that and they're with their same groups all the time. And if a guy's aren't, one of the players isn't there that day, before we get started, we're like, we got everyone here. Let's get going. And they're like, oh, Joe Smith isn't here today. Well, then they start asking themselves. I mean, you just see it on their face. They're like, oh, like, what did he do? So then, of course, they're going to reach out to him after lifting or after our team session and be like, hey, man, why weren't you at practice day? Why weren't you at lifting? And then they have to tell their teammate, like, oh, I wasn't doing the stuff in the classroom, or I wasn't doing this right. I didn't do this right. Just that letdown factor, it holds weight.
Mm-hmm. It definitely does. You know, I think it's just nice to just hear that from you. Like I said, just for me, always with the outsider in, from even when I remember, you know, watching you play. I remember those times, and when you took over and assistant, like. But every time, even knowing guys back in the day, like when Jimmy played, you know, and when I was going through that, like those guys always, the brotherhood was just there, and it's interesting to even hear your perspective on it, because it's true. Like you seem to have a very tight knit group, and you're building the culture in the right direction. You can and now, like, I think that's at the highest level, because now, like you said, the kids are putting it on each other.
Mhm.
And that's where you guys are at. That seems kind of daunting. So, like, how, like, let's think back to, like, when you took over, what, at 20, you were 24? Were you
Yeah.
24 when you took over?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I was,
that,
I think the
that
youngest.
yeah, like, I was like, I couldn't, I mean, when that came out, I was like, I was awesome. But I was like, you're going to put through some great energy into, like, I'm sure that this, don't be that guy, and having your teammates do that didn't just happen at 24, like when you first started, and maybe it did. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Like, was it like, what was that process like? As you're now, like, the guys are going to police this.
Yeah. When I first started as a head coach, my first year, um, we had a couple seniors on the team that were freshmen my senior year. So
Yeah.
that was the biggest transition, was when I got into coaching, even as assistant, was separating the friendships that I had before to the coaching side. That was the biggest thing. But the policing of themselves, on any good team, great team, it happens. Like I said earlier, when it's coming from coaches, it's as far as not necessarily a punishment, but when we're talking about um, expectations and what we expect of them in game situations or in this certain situation of life, when it comes from us as coaches and they hear it over and over, even as a parent, when you say it to your kid all the time, it's like, well, just let me live my life. Let me do, like, I'm going to do it. Like, you're just saying it because you're supposed to. Like, and I think it plays back to the type of guys we're bringing in. When I first got the coaching job, we recruited very minimal high school kids in my first few classes. We wanted to win and win immediately, and the junior college route was the way we went. We wanted guys that had experience against college competition, and the maturity factor played a huge part in that.
Mhm.
And then once it happened, we started getting those guys in, and other coaches that I was friends with in our conference, in our region, were like, be careful, because you're taking guys from this program over here, this program over here. They've already been in college programs. How are they going to adapt to your culture, your program, the way you coach, your mentality, when they've already had that instilled in them from someone else? And I think it's just the atmosphere we create. It plays back to the recruiting, as the relationships we build with those guys throughout the process. Like I said, if I'm recruiting you, I'm not going to reach out to you probably just once a week and be like, hey man, where are you at in the recruiting process? You got any more offers? Where do we stand? And just hammer you with questions. I think
Mhm.
that it turns kids off. And when they truly can respect you and understand where you're coming from, and that it's the relationship that we're building as coaches is bigger than just the game of baseball and being a student athlete here. The policing part of it, it kind of takes care of itself. And especially, like I said earlier, when you have guys that all have the same common goal, and team goal. Yeah, you're going to have your own individual goals. And we've done that before. That's on our expectation sheet is, what's three goals that you set for yourself individually? Okay, now what's three goals you set for our team? So what are your goals that you set individually? Are they going to help us win? Are they going to help those team goals? Or is it pretty much selfish? Like, I don't want to strike out 30 times, or I don't want to have a strikeout in a year. Well, one, that's unrealistic. Um, and it's just, I mean, some of these questions we have a grading scale, 1 to 5, and rate yourself. They turn in these self-evaluation sheets before we do our exit meeting, and we go over it as a staff, and they sit in here with us three coaches, And I mean, we're brutally honest with them. We don't want question marks. We don't want surprises. We want them to know where you stand from the number 1 player in our program to the number 36 guy and where you stand. And I think the openness that we have with our team plays into that policing of themselves. They understand where they sit with us, where they sit with their teammates, that kind of thing. And I think it just, they live together. They're together all the time. So nobody wants to be left behind. They don't want to let those guys down. So they police themselves, and we preach accountability to them all the time. And it takes one guy to screw it up for 36. So nobody wants to be that one guy that messes it up.
Oh, no, that's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, and then so it seems like you like the challenge of also like, because of getting maybe players in from different programs. I know as of recently, you get all the success. You see guys transferring into Shepherd, a good bit, and it seems like you're very confident and you're very. It's almost like I said, you kind of like the challenge of saying, "Yep, I'm going to be able to take this, and we're going to have a great relationship." So you can kind of come into what we do. I don't know. Has it been a transition from transfers to JUCOs, or from JUCOs to transfers? And then, because I know you still mix in like your big time high school kid, a recruit that you bring in, but I mean, you still are getting the transfers to come into you.
Yeah. I mean, we don't recruit just to fill numbers. We recruit to need. So there's going to be certain positions that we fill year in and every 2 years. We're going to fill in top guys in our rotation. Are we going to have that freshman that comes in and wins a job and develops and gets to that spot? Yeah. We hope we're identifying those guys on the high school side, but it changes. One year it'll be heavy JUCO. And other years it'll be heavy transfers. And the transfer part of it is those guys seem to come in with a chip on their shoulder. Whether they were mistreated at their former place, they thought they should be starting, they should be doing this. Or they were beat out, they had an injury and something happened. Whatever it is, life happened, they transferred. Those guys tend to come in with, like I said, a chip on their shoulder and wanting to prove something. They told me I couldn't get it done here. I wasn't going to be a starter here in my career. Now I'm coming into a fresh situation, a new situation with all new guys, or even guys that, I mean, most of our transfers have friends on our team. We tell our guys all the time, you're our biggest recruiter, especially when you go play summer ball. If you're enjoying your time here, you're winning. When you go play summer ball and you start playing with these guys and they're unhappy where they're at, it's like, well, what's it like at your place? You're winning. Are you happy there? Yeah, I'm happy there. So I think that plays into the part of our close-knit group of guys. Like a lot of these guys on our roster have played with each other, showcase ball, high school ball, summer ball, in college, whatever it is. So, but it varies every year on whether we're going junior college or transfer strictly, whatever it is. I think we do a good job throughout the process of identifying guys that fit what we're looking for and fit the culture and team that we have here. They could be uber talented and not fit the type of team and morale that we have here. Those are guys that we eliminate off our list. We have enough coaching colleagues and friends that we have all throughout the country now, or up and down the East Coast, that we recruit from. And I'll reach out to them and like, hey, have you seen this guy, especially Jimmy and Alex and all them down at JMU? I mean, they see a ton of guys. They reach out to us about guys, and it's like, hey, have you seen this guy play? What's your thoughts? And like, he's not a guy that we would recruit here, blah, 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 for this reason. Okay, well, then maybe he's not a good fit for here either. So, yeah, he's super talented, but just the way he carries himself and does this. So it's more to it than just the skill set part of it. But it's finding guys that fit the culture that we have. And it's hard to really explain what that culture is when you're out recruiting, like what it is that we're trying to identify and look at. It's just when you go watch a kid play and the way he carries himself and hustling and on and off the field and the way he carries himself in the dugout around his teammates, when you see it, you know it type of deal. So, and like I said, we've been able to form bonds with coaches around the area up and down the East Coast that, I mean, we rely heavily on, especially on the high school side. It's like, we're not always going to be able to go out and see them play in the springtime. In the fall, I mean, all three of us on staff are out going other places and seeing guys. So, I mean, we got to be able, as a head coach, I got to be able to trust my assistants, which I do. Our guys do a very good job of identifying the talent, the culture of guys that we're trying to bring in. So yeah, it varies each year what it's going to look like as far as transfer in junior college. Some kids that we recruit out of high school that we miss out on, and this is another big part of it. Some coaches, when a kid chooses somewhere else, it's like they'll still continue to hammer with questions like, why are you going to go there? You're not going to play there. So that puts a bad taste in a lot of kids' mouth. Like us here at Shepherd, it's like, man, good luck. I hope the bond that we built over the last couple months, few weeks, whatever it is, if things don't work out where you're going, let me know if there's something we can do in the future for you. And there's been plenty of times that we didn't get the guy the first time around, but we get him in the second time around, and they come in here. They're comfortable because of the relationship we built throughout that recruiting process. So they come in here with a little more relaxation and not having to play scared in certain situations or coming in a little more timid and passive when they get here. It's like, oh, I'm comfortable. I understand the coaching staff. Now I know these guys that play here. I know I've played with these guys before. So it all, like I said, we're not ones that are you don't choose us. It's like, well, you weren't good enough to play here anyway. Like, why are we recruiting you if we don't think you were good enough to play here?
Right.
We'll wish you luck. Go. And the guys I feel like we're missing out on guys is these lower level Division I schools. So like, hey man, if it doesn't work out there, I think you can be a very good Division II player.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work out there in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, your grad senior year, whatever it is, hey, the door will be open. Hopefully when that opportunity comes available, we have that spot available for you and we can make it happen here. So.
No, it speaks to so much of like how great you are at relationships, because I feel like you are, just our conversation is, and the more I get to know you, I just realize like you're such a relationship person that, like, I'm not going to burn a bridge because who knows where that bridge might come later on down the road. And I think that's such a valuable lesson in all things, even that you teach what you're naturally teaching that to the player without having them say that, like, hope things work out for you. If not, we'll, see what I can do for you to help you down the road. I think that's such a valuable lesson. And then another valuable lesson that I heard you talk about was, just heard you saying, even to parents, about like how much it means to just be a guy, like be a specific kind of fit, and it's more than just the baseball. Like you could be uber talented, but you just might not be a good fit for our culture, and if you're not doing these certain types of things. I think that's just great things for people to hear, that it's also developing the kind of person you are, seeing what kind of place would fit for you. I think without even saying, like, those are just valuable lessons that I think, I just appreciate you bringing those things to light. I think, that's why your culture is like it's already getting stronger and stronger. You guys are, winning more and more. And, and you're still relatively a very young head coach. I mean, and but even though you're a seasoned coach, you're still relatively young too. So, I mean, this has been great. I just, if people want to talk more about your culture, or if you want to talk more about, reach out to you, what's the best way to maybe contact you, Matt?
Reach out my email. My email is on the website. They can reach out and send me an email.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, just going back to the whole recruiting side of it, there's I mean, there's coaches that reach out to us like, hey, this kid's getting these offers at the Division I level, like, and we'll go watch him play, whatever, and then reach out to him a couple days later. They'll reach out to us like, "What you think?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's super talented, uber talented, whatever it is, but
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a good fit." And they're like, "Oh, you don't think he can play there?" No, the kid could play here, talent wise, absolutely. He just doesn't fit what we're looking for as a whole. The way, and I think that gets lost a ton is how you carry yourself on the field, off the field, in the dugout, whatever it is. Hell, even just the way you talk to your parents at the fence. I mean, there's so much more than just recruiting talent. And I learned that from some of my colleagues when I first got into it. Like, because when I first was looking, I was like, oh, this kid's super talented. I got to go get him. And they're like, just watch him. Just watch what he does. Like, yeah, he's super talented, but are you going to want to deal with that other stuff outside? And you can tell, I mean, there's times that parents turn you off on kids. Like, I mean, like how they approach their high school coaches, their travel ball coaches. I mean, that's one of the things we talk about on visits when kids come here is like, we'll talk about anything and everything with our guys. We have an open door policy. They can come in and talk to us about life, school, baseball, whatever it is. But playing time is one thing that we will not talk about. Playing time's earned. We have checklists, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to talk to parents about playing time either. We have times all the time that parents send me an email or it's happened in the past very early on in my career. They send me an email and at the bottom of the email, it says, please do not tell Joe that I'm reaching out to you. Right. It's like, well, are these concerns coming from you or are they coming from the player? So, well, I'll print off the email, whatever it is, voicemail and save it. And like, we'll have a one-on-one meeting and I'm like, hey man, like, are you unhappy about what's going on here? Speak to me, tell me. Like, and they're like, kind of, no, like, I'm good. Like, and they're like, well, I got this email from your parent and like, this is what they're stating. So did this come from you or is it them? And you can tell by their reaction and in their face. It's like, no, that wasn't from me, or, oh, I did say something. And like, but I think that just comes with the relationship with that with our guys is they know they can come in and talk to us about things, and it's bigger than baseball sometimes. So, I mean, we're not going to hold grudges. If you feel like you should be doing something that we're not allowing you to do, and you have the stats and the reasoning behind it, and because I mean, we chart everything, we keep stats of everything that we do in the fall. So, I mean, numbers speak for themselves, and if they can justify it and we go back and look at our notes and the stats and all that too, okay, now we have something to talk about. But if you don't have the numbers to back it up, we're not going to be talking about playing time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that competitiveness and what you guys are doing, that stuff's there. So yeah, you track it. I'm sure you want people to see it. They want to see that so they get more competitive. So yeah, you guys have those numbers and those things speak for themselves. So, but oh man, this has been incredible. We're about an hour. I mean, so I want to respect your time and things like that. But you know, but man, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's, like I said, I just really want to dive in a couple of those things because you guys are so good at, and it's just really cool to see, you know. But I can also speak to like I know the past 2 games that I've been to Shepherd, I sat next to 2 scouts, you know, too. So I know you're bringing in guys, even the opportunity for the next level. You know, you guys continue to get better, and you're bringing in even better talent. So, you know, can't wish you the best of luck, man. Just keep it rock and roll. It's great for our area. It's great for the game.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad we can finally get on. I know we've been trying to set this up for a while, so being able to get on, and we'll have to do it again soon. It was fun. Maybe we can get Coach Smith on the call too, because he does a lot of great things with our pitching staff, and talk about kind of the things we do in our program on the mental side and how we try to build mental toughness with our guys. So. Yeah,
I'm all about that. Yeah, let's just do round 2 and bring in Pat, and then let's do that. I mean, we're going to keep it here. We can do another hour, and that would be great.
Yeah, that
Love it,
sounds
man.
like a plan.
I love
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
doing.
You have a good rest of the week, and hopefully, like I said, we can do this again soon.
Can't thank Coach McCarty enough for dropping some great knowledge and having just a great conversation with him. I always take notes with every guest, guys that I was able to talk to, and this is a 2-pager. This was a 2-page full of notes. Those notes could also be found on Podbean, is where I host my podcast. So if you're looking for those notes, and you can check them out there. He puts his email. If you don't know Coach McCarty's email, if you haven't been to the Shepherd website, his email is mmccarty@shepherd.edu. Shepherd, SHEPHERD.edu. Again, Coach Matt McCarty's email is mmccarty@shepherd.edu. I'm sure he'll be able to. You want to reach out to him, feel free. He's got a lot more to guess. We really just kind of scratched the surface here with the hour that we had, and hoping we can get him and the assistant coaches back on again and just dive into some more great things that they do. Always want to learn just kind of how there's just so many different strategies. There's so many different routes that people can go to accomplish a task. And so it's always great to kind of hear what they do, and also even kind of justifies or reaffirms the things that you are doing. But I think there's some great value in this conversation. I thought there was some great value that you can get even if you weren't in baseball. Just the competitiveness, holding other people accountable. There's things there that good people do, regardless of if you're playing in sports or not. So from his toughness challenges to the competitiveness and all the things that they do to compete, and to them for the culture of them having players hold each other accountable when the coaches just facilitate. It's the highest form of teaching. It's the highest form of leadership. And that's where they're at Shepherd. And just want to thank Coach McCarty, head baseball coach at Shepherd University, for his time today, giving us a little behind-the-scene action about what they do with their program, and showing the great stuff they do, that they continue to win and they continue to play at the highest level and compete and for championships. But I loved how he said there are 3 things, and you're hearing them from a lot of great coaches. You're going to win championships, you're going to get degrees, and you're going to become a better person. It's so much more about talent. Find a good fit, do your homework, and be sure that if you're doing much more for yourself than just practicing your swing and practicing the physical side of things. Because the great coaches and the great programs, they're looking for it. That's what they're looking for. Okay? A lot of guys can have great swings, but they're just not good fits for their program. They're not going to help them get those championships. They're not going to help them with their mission of getting people degrees, because majority of people need degrees. Majority of people are going to have to go on and be good citizens, good people, and that's the sign of a great program. So, again, thanks, Coach McCarty. Thank you all for listening. Please share the episode and keep getting better.